podcast is brought to you by PodPro Australia.
Social media, Google, email marketing, systems, website traffic, and the endless content creation that comes with marketing. It's overwhelming, right? Say goodbye to endless stress and hello to clarity with the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. In this podcast, I will share with you fast and free practical methods to help you manage, monetize, and market your business, all infused with a healthy dose of motivation. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. Today I have with me from across the seas, Agatha. So lovely to connect with you here today, and I cannot wait to have this discussion with you today because what we're talking about today is something that I myself have applied at stages in my life and I completely understand the value in. So I am super excited to have you here today. Let's start by first telling us a little bit about your story. For me, I love to hear about people's personal hero stories of how they actually got into what they got into, because in my experience, most people actually just fall into what they get into and then fall madly in love with it and then take it to the masses. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me, first of all. My name is Agatha Brewer, and I'm a business and marketing coach for new entrepreneurs and specifically solopreneurs and service-based business owners. And what I do is I help people get really clear in their marketing so they can start attracting clients. So that's a little bit about what I do and how I got into it. Well, it's kind of a long story, so I'll try to keep it short. But going back to the year 2013, that was basically, I had been working in marketing and corporate marketing for a while in digital marketing. And I was 30 years old and I had just recently been promoted to a director of marketing position at a software company. And so on the surface, everything was great. Everything looked wonderful. I was successful. I was managing a team. I was in charge of an entire company's marketing strategy and plan. On the inside, other things were happening. And so I went to this personal development retreat and I was lucky to be able to take a few days off of work. And that's kind of where I started the first time thinking about life coaching as a potential career option. And then, I had some plans, but obviously how life goes, you kind of come back to work and that gets, put on a shelf. And it wasn't until 7 years later it was 2013 and then 2019, right before the pandemic hit, that I finally decided, okay, now it's time for me to actually go to my dream of becoming a business owner. And so I got training as a life coach that took about a year. And right before the pandemic hit, I actually got my certification in coaching. And that's when I started coaching people. And it's funny that you said, sometimes things fall in your lap and sometimes you plan them. And so I did plan on, doing this coaching thing. And the reason behind it was I was good at marketing and I was successful at it, but there was something missing. And that thing that was missing was a little bit more purpose, because I'm great at helping a company grow. I'm great at working with an organization, but I wasn't feeling that sense of impact on a one-to-one level and helping somebody transform. And I was also going through some health challenges at the time, so I won't go into all of that, but I learned about a principle called neuroplasticity. And I learned that your brain can rewire and change if you put in the work to do that. And so I learned about limiting beliefs. And that's when I really got into coaching. And because of the pandemic, the stars aligned that a lot of people were reevaluating their life at that time. And so I got to coach on all different topics. And eventually I realized that I'm actually good at this business coaching thing because my background was in marketing. And so I've now had 19 years of marketing, corporate marketing experience that I've used in my own business. And so people kind of organically started coming to me around business coaching, and my other coaches that I was working with just to get my certification, they all knew I had a marketing background. So it kind of fit. And so I brought that experience that I had in corporate and melded it in with my coaching experience. And so now I can do kind of both and help people not only figure out what they want to do, but kind of test it before they even do it, knowing how it will work in the real world, because I have that marketing background. And so I'm a little bit of a hybrid, I guess you could say. And that's kind of how I started. And what I help people do the most is basically get that initial vision for their business and then figure out intentional marketing strategies for them and launch their business. And then I do also work with people who are a bit more seasoned, who have been in business for a little while. And that's more around optimizing their marketing strategy and looking at data and helping them automate and things like that. But that's a little bit more advanced.
Oh, look, I love so much of what you said there. I mean, the whole purpose of this podcast is the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. And the reason for that is that we want marketing to be meaningful, but I want your business to be meaningful for you. And when I say that, like you said, you just felt like you weren't being purposeful. And the thing is that if you wake up every day and you don't feel like you're living inside your purpose, it's a freaking drag, right? It is such a drag to do anything, and it's not fulfilling. And, you only live once. You could die tomorrow. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure you die with a smile on your face doing what it is that you love. So you can create a marketing strategy around the things that you love to do. And I always say to people, like, there's introverts, there's extroverts. There's people that have capacities to work hours and hours and hours. There's others who need to work a lot less. At the end of the day, a marketing strategy, in order for it to be meaningful, can be meaningful for your clients and your customers. It could be meaningful for you as a person as well in order to fulfill that marketing strategy. So I love so much of what you said there. So when we talk about meaningful marketing, how do you think what you do is more meaningful? Like your niche, your strategy, the way that you work with clients, how would you describe it as being meaningful?
Yeah, so it's funny. My podcast, I have one as well. It's called The Intentional Solopreneur. So the meaningful, I think of it as intentional marketing. So when you think about your marketing, I think a lot of people that I've worked with or just people out there, newer business owners, they know that they have to find clients, but they don't know how, and they are not usually used to marketing like at all. So they're not coming to it the way that I did, where I had all these marketing strategies that I could have chosen to use. And for me, it was like difficult too, because I knew so much. And so it was hard to choose what I actually enjoy, what I'm good at. And so what I help people do is get really intentional before they start marketing, or maybe they have already marketed before they came to me and now they're just trying to get better at it and actually be able to sign clients. So I base the marketing strategy that somebody chooses, and I'm not telling them what to do because I'm a coach. So I'm really just trying to get the information out of them. But I base it on somebody's personality, their strengths, and then also the stage of business they're in. Because, different marketing strategies will work better or worse depending on what stage of, like, if you're just getting started, you probably don't want to do paid ads, for example, or create a funnel or do email marketing. Like, those are a little bit more advanced and you're not quite there yet. And that's totally fine. So for me, I can give an example of when I looked at my personality, I realized that I'm an ambivert, which is somebody who's in between an introvert and an extrovert. So on some days, I do not want to be recording a podcast like this. Like, I want to be behind my computer, just typing away and writing in articles. And that is one way that I market. I write blogs, I guest blog, I've been published on different publications, I have my own, and that helps me build SEO in my website. And so that's a wonderful strategy. But then on other days, I am totally happy to be on a mic and recording, and I have my own podcast for that reason, because I found that my personality type is an ambivert storyteller. So I like telling stories. I clearly like to talk about myself and, clients and other things about my business. So that's my personality type, but everybody has a different one. Somebody might be an introvert, and so getting on a podcast may be a little scary for them, or recording live is not like comfortable for their nervous system. So they need to do something different. And then there's the more outgoing type that is totally fine to be on social media and recording lives and doing things like that. So it really depends on who you are at the core and what you're going to be naturally good at. Because when I started my business, and happens with a lot of clients that I work with, most of them have this belief that they have to be on social media, and that's the only way it's going to work, because that's what's like pumped out. And that's what they've been brainwashed to think, that social media is the only way I can grow my business. And yes, there is a place for social media, but if that's not your natural strength, then it's going to be difficult for you. And what I ended up doing for myself and what I help other people do is look at the actual data of your marketing and like what's actually performing well, and then make decisions and not just go off of assumptions of, I think this is working better, when in reality, there's actually data that can show you, no, actually this other thing is working better. So, yeah.
Yeah, Oda, there's so many good points there. So, I mean, number one, you've got to like what you're doing, right? Because if you don't like it, you're going to absolutely dread getting up every single day doing it. And I know many of my audience will know that I owned health, wellness and fitness centers for 25 years. And I always used to watch, the personal trainers in that. And whenever a new client used to come in, they'd go, right, do 100 burpees. And do you think that client ever wanted to come back ever again and do another training session because they hated doing burpees and they hated doing 100? But, the trainer would go, do 100 burpees. And they just absolutely hate exercising and not want to come to the gym. And it's like there's 1,000 other things that you could make them do that they are going to enjoy, that are going to get them to come back. So, and they're going to remain consistent. So absolutely love that. Like, loving it means you'll show up every day with a smile on your face to do it. The second part that you said there was around your strengths. And it's so important that we play to our strengths. And it's understanding what those are, because we beat ourselves up all the time, right? We're like, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I hate doing this and I struggle with that. And it's like, hold on a sec. Well, what are the things that you actually have experience in, that you naturally enjoy doing and are good at doing? And let's, play more into those strengths. So I absolutely love that part as well. And the third part you said there was data-driven decisions, because that's the other thing, right? If it's not working, there's no point in continuing getting up every single day and doing it. And if something is starting to work, well, then you should start tapping into more of that stuff so that it can start to perform better and work better for you. So some 3 really good points over there. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the strengths test? I mean, there's so many different personality type tests out there, but you've created one for yourself. Do you want to tell our audience about that?
Yeah, so basically, before I go right into that, like some of the strengths, just so that listeners are aware, so I'm a storyteller. There's also like a connector. Like I know some people in my life who are just like naturally outgoing, naturally connect other people together. So there's different qualities like that. And so this quiz that I created, obviously it's not scientific. It's not like one of those, something that like a data scientist created. I created it myself, but I know enough, and I know about personalities. I also studied psychology. I, worked in marketing for many years. So scientific enough, I think, but it's a fun quiz, and it will help you understand what your marketing superpower is, and the thing that will actually help you really align with your marketing strategy. And it's just a couple questions. It's 2 minutes long, and it'll basically give you 3 custom marketing strategies that you can choose from. I never say this is the way to go. Like, you still have choice in the matter. So I'm giving you 3 options that feel into which one works the best for you, and try it and see how it goes, because everybody's going to have a different preference, right? But those are like the 3 most aligned based on how you answer the quiz questions, like basically different scenarios in your life that you could come across, and how you deal with that scenario is typically how you also would like to, interact with the world. So I have this quiz. It's at agathabrewer.com/quiz. I'm sure that'll be in the show notes for you guys to take a look at that. But it can get you started brainstorming. Okay, how does this work for me? And you can also adapt whatever the strategies are and change them a little bit, but you'll get to know yourself a little bit more from a marketing perspective.
Yeah. It straight away gives you confidence, right? So if your parents or, mom or dad say to you, hey, you're so good at that, straight away you feel empowered. And I feel like that with personality or strength type tests. It's like as soon as it goes, based on your answers, we feel like this is what's great or good about you. You're like, oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Straight away you feel empowered going, hey, I must be good in that, and then straight away you start tapping into it. You get a little bit more excited, and then you start to like grow in that skill set. You don't have to sit in that skill set. You can actually grow and develop and start to explore it more, and it should excite you. Like you said, storytelling or connecting. There's a great things, and not everyone's got them, but if that's your strength, well, then utilize it, because there is a strategy for you. And I love how you said as a coach, you don't make decisions for your clients. And it's so true. At the end of the day, we want to empower our clients. We want to empower them to make decisions in their business. You don't want to make decisions for them when you're working with them, because ultimately when you leave them, you want them to be empowered to be able to run their own businesses and make their own decisions and do their own things. So much that I love from that. And thanks so much for sharing. And yes, that will be in the show notes. So we will share that link in the show notes. You can go do your strengths test and see where your marketing superpower lies, as you like to say. So what 3 tips would you like to leave our audience with today?
Yeah. So number 1, I think, is in terms of if you're trying to create an intentional marketing strategy, and I didn't mention this earlier, but it's also aligning your vision for your business, your values. And like, it's not just about marketing, it's about your entire business of like, how do I want to run this in a purposeful way so that I enjoy showing up to this business? So I enjoy serving my clients. So I didn't go through that, but 3 tips I would say is, number 1, what we just talked about. So choose a marketing strategy, and really it's a marketing channel. So there's a little bit more to it, but it's a marketing channel that's based on your personality, your strengths, and the stage of business you're in. Number 2, you actually need to create a strategy around that marketing channel that you chose. So your marketing channel is basically the way that you bring your message to the world. So think of an artist. An artist has an image in mind, and they could use a medium, and the medium could be oil, it could be paint, it could be charcoal. So it'll change the message slightly, just the way that you perceive it, but that's your channel. And what you actually need to do is create an actual strategy around that channel. So think about creating something like a customer journey or a buyer's journey is what it's known in marketing, where, some of you may have heard of a funnel. So that's kind of what you're creating. You're creating awareness at first, then you need to engage with that person that doesn't know that much about you on a deeper level. Then you need to nurture that relationship. And then finally you can sell to them. And so there's steps that need to happen in order for that to work properly. I won't go into that. That's another podcast episode, but being intentional about the strategy you're creating around that marketing channel. And then finally, we touched on this, but tracking and optimizing your marketing efforts over time, not making assumptions that so-and-so is working or not working, because a lot of times you haven't looked at the data and you're just going off of a gut feeling, which is fine to start with, but go and take a look and go look at your Google Analytics or go look at your social profile. There's always an analytics portion of that if you have a business account, and go see what's actually happening and then make decisions based off of all of the information, not just like what your intuition is telling you. You need to use both to make those decisions. So those would be the 3 tips. And a bonus tip is, if you have an idea and if you have a business in mind and you've been waiting on it, there's a reason you have this idea. You are capable. You are so much more capable than you think. Sometimes you just need to get some support around bringing that idea to life and feeling that confidence that you can do that. So I just threw that one in there at the end.
No, it's so true. I mean, if you have a look at all successful people in businesses, all coaches have coaches have multiple coaches, 100% because they support you in that area. So that's really good. So number 1, for me, it was around, for example, like I'm not really big into TikTok and all of that and fun. I make fun of like TikTok dances and stuff like that. And I'll create those into reels and that because I'm just not that way inclined and I'm dorky. So I'm never, ever going to sit strong in that space unless I want to be made a fool of, because that's not my jam. So making sure that, it's alignment with yourself and something you can maintain and be consistent with. Number 2 was respecting the platform and respecting the audience on that platform and being really strategy focused, meaning it's the outcome. A strategy for me is always the outcome. It's about looking at how can I achieve the outcome on that platform with that audience, with what I have. And being strategy focused is so super important, because else it's just visibility and engagement and it's not actually meaningful to make money. Yeah. And the last one, data-driven decisions always, so that you're not winging it, that you're actually tapping into what's working. So super important. And I actually call that a toilet activity. I always say to people, like when you're first starting out, it literally is a toilet activity for you to go onto Facebook or Instagram and just go into your dashboard, look at your art and your insights and just go, oh, that worked, that didn't work, and take it from there. Thanks for listening in. Meaningful marketing is all about you making your marketing meaningful. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please hit that subscribe button. But subscribing means that you won't miss out on future episodes all about marketing and motivation. Stay inspired, stay focused, and make your marketing meaningful.